Dumela mogaetso, dumela Motswana, dumela bagolo ba rona, dumela monana, dumela botlhe, ke le dumedisa ka pula. Le teng, ena ke program-e re tlong go bua ka botsogo ba tlhaloganyo. Re ntse re leka go simolla program ena na le re leshomo sebati, a psychologist, a tutor, a counselor o eleng gore bontsi ba mo itse ka light to life ba leshomo sebati. O bereka mo di-prisoneng tsa rona, a kgothatsa a leka go thusa ba le bantsi ba ba nang le bothata le botsogo ba tlhaloganyo. Ba le bantsi ba ka mo itse ka the different affiliations that he's involved in, as well as, the radio station programs that he has ran as well. Is really a driver mo go ruteng go kgothatsa Batswana ka go itse ka botsogo ba tlhaloganyo. I really admire him. He's a friend of mine, really close friend of mine, and he motivates me. That's why ne re lekile gore re sumolle tirisano ena, re sumolle go bua le Batswana ka mathata e leng gore o ka botshelo and ka botsogo ba tlhaloganyo. Le tla intshwarela o le tla nkinela matsogo metsing. Ke leka go bua Setswana, ke batla go boela gape go bua Setswana sa rona ke sa tsenye sekgwa mo teng. But ka nakwana mo gone neng ke kopa le forgive me, or le nkinele matsogo metsing. Ke santse ke leka go bua Setswana, but re tla tsena teng. Ke tle mo malatsing ke tle ke bua Setswana yala se se tlhapileng. So we're aiming gore ha re ka bankanya tsa maranyane nna le re leshomo sebati re tla simolla go bua le Batswana live mo Facebookong le mo YouTubeong. Re bua le Batswana beke le beke, re bua ka dikgang tse e leng gore di a re tshwenya, o tse e leng gore re batla go kgothatsa Batswana ka tsone, or re share information ka tsone. Okay, so hopefully things will start working, and we'll get this up and running soon. All right. Anyway, I can introduce it before re tswella. Nna ke Naotsile Modukanele, ke tswa ko Kanye, ko go Ramongala, ko go Ramodukanele. Ke godisitswe ke moruto wa Lontone na dira Reverend Marope Gabautswe Modukanele. Ne le moruto o motona, according to me, wa UCCSA. My grandma was a pillar. She was a role model for me. I viewed her as someone who was just amazing. She was just this warrior of a woman who could do just multiple things and just keep going and going and going. And she raised me to do the same, to be independent. So ke godile ke godisiwa ke ene. Ke gola teng ko Kanye. Bontsi ba go goleng ga me ke ne ke le ko Kanye. Re ne ra move gantsinyana, but go tleng ga like my teenage years I spent ko gae. Yeah, re nna le mme le my grandma. Ke ne ka tsena ko Mathiba, ka tsena ko Seapapitso, ka ya ko Madikolo ko UB, ka ira pre-med teng, and then ka fela ke isiwa ko Monash mo Australia. Gona na ke bua le wena ke le mo Australia. Fa ke fetsa dithuto tsa me tsa bongaka ke boela gae ka bereka ko Marina. Ka fela ke boetse kwano gore ke tswelele dithuto tsa me. Pele ne ke batlile go nna ngaka wa pelo, a cardiologist. But two things, ha ke simolla go bereka mo Australia, ke simolotse mo ED or emergency department or ER, I don't know gore re bitsa eng ko gae, but ED, emergency department, where people, when you first get into hospital, ha o tswa ko gae, you have to go through that department go ba bolela gore bothata ba mekeng e be ba batla ba eleng gore the focus on that situation. For example, how tla ka botlhoko ba pelo ba batla cardiologist, how tla ka botlhoko ba mpa ba batla ba surgeon, how tla ka pneumonia or chest infection, ba batla ba medicine or respiratory, depending on what the case is, right? So anyway, ha ke tsena ko ED, ke simolla go bona gore ne go na le balwetsi ba eleng gore bakaulong ba me or my colleagues wouldn't want to see ne batla ka bothata ba tlhaloganyo o botsogo ba tlhaloganyo. My colleagues didn't want to see them. So I started going to see these people. Wow, what's the case? What's going on? I realized a lot of them had, issues that didn't require like medication or go thusiwa mo go ka pela mo eleng gore ha o tla ka bokai, ha o tla motho a tla ka botlhoko ba pelo ba mo neela molemo botlhoko ba teng bo a tsamaya. But ha o tla ka botsogo ba tlhaloganyo ha gona molemo e leng gore o neela motho teng fo e be le gore o siame sengwe se se tsamaya sentle wa boa unless e le gore ke bolwetse bo e leng gore bo acute o bo tla ka pela. Re tla bua ka tsena ha re tswelela. So ke simolla go rata gone go bua le batho balwetsi bana ka fela ile gore yaanong ke simolotse go traina ke lebeletse botsogo ba tlhaloganyo, mental health. So I'm a trainee in psychiatry. I am with Royal Australian New Zealand College of Psychiatrists. I'm based in Newcastle. I'm currently in a subacute ward or a subacute unit rehab, where we see people from sort of recovering, still on that recovery journey, or they've been stepped up for rehab to look at few things that they're coming in with. Ha ke tsweleditse le go ithuta botsogo ba tlhaloganyo, I realize gore ha re gola ko kanye ke ne ka encounter or I met people ba eleng gore ne ba lwala ba dire se itse gore bothata ba bone ke eng. Ko gae ba tswang ko kanye ba godileng ko kanye, ka nako e ne ke gola ko kanye early 2000s, I think they would remember there was this certain gentleman who would be walking really, really fast on the main road ya ko gae ko kanye. O itse tla ba pace ya ha wena le go di mongare motho o tabogile, but he was walking really fast, and he would be talking to himself really, really fast. And how much you made say go hey, whatever. He's just walking. And Harisa Mone, because he was really prominent, Harisa Mone a pacer. It was like, oh, guy. And then about Oko Sabrina. Okay. And then there was another gentleman on at Hakazanako Rachele. Never mona hansin ene. A bua le nosi a bua le nosi. Nako tse dingwe re tshaba go tla gaufi le ene because of previous aggressive behavior, previous agitation. Tle re bolela hore no mo tshabe o betsa batho. Ha re sa mmone le ene tle go to o ko Sabrina. At the time, we didn't know. Well, for me, I didn't know what was wrong. And because of our culture and the prominent spirituality ko gae, a lot of things we found reason based on that, right? So a lot of times they're again either Diabolo, he's working in this, or devil is doing this, or already there's witchcraft going on here. Or ha re sa tlhaloganye sepe hela, we just give reason to that, right? And ha ke ntse ke tsweletse as well, ke a lemoga gore go na le ba ke ba itseng ba le bantsi ba ba nang le bothata le dinotagi. People who binge drink, people ba ba dirisang marijuana, ba e leng gore they're dependent on it. People ba e leng gore they are habitual smokers, like they are always smoking. They can't stop, right? Ba e leng gore ba dirisa tse dingwe dinotagi tse e leng gore di somotse go tla ko gae, bo cocaine, bo heroin, bo ice, ka lemoga gore yeah, I knew these people. I remember go UB in first year, there was this particular guy. He came to our go room. It was a weekend, it was a Friday, so people were out having fun. This guy comes in with these massive books. Like 10 pula. I'm like, what? This book like costs like 150 pula above, right? I don't know. I really need to sell this because I owe somebody money. I was like, kolota mang madi a eleng gore o rekisa dibuka ka ka di-prices di re ko tlase yaneng. A bua gore, no, I really need to buy something. I really need to buy this drug. Okay. Ra mo tsora ke le gore ke feel because ka nako eo ne re itse hela gore marijuana ke drug. That was the only drug that we knew. He produced a small pill, and abare, do you guys have like a match or matches? No, I don't know matches. Why do you want matches? No, you have to take a spoon or what's the pilisi ena mo godimo ga spoon sena o tshuba ka ha tlase, and then you inhale. We're like, what? At the time we were young and really into, like, we were going to church with a friend of mine. She's lovely. I really love her. So we're just like, no, we're not doing that. So he went away because we didn't buy his books anyway. Then as we were just still there, puzzled by this experience and what we've seen, this other individual comes in. He is singing his life and he's just having fun on his own. My friend, she's lovely, Mankala. She was so inquisitive. Like she will ask people what about Tateki. I loved her so much. I still do. So this guy was going past us, and I'm going, no, but marijuana is something else. This is too strong. And I'm like, okay. So that was the experience. Yeah, and we got to know more people who are more dependent on substances and dinotagi. And as well, that's where you'd see young men especially, who were quite unwell, really, really unwell. And at the time, we used to just pass it as BSc. What's in swaggy BSc? I'm not laughing because it's a funny thing. It's just that at the time, we lacked knowledge. I mean, we were given reasons that were just out of this world. Like, you clearly could see that this person is so unwell. But at the time, we didn't. For me, I'll say this, I didn't know that they were unwell, like it could be treated, right? And we just said, well, BSc, yeah, it's a BSc, you know. And but now reflecting at it, you're like, this was a child who was going through a lot, and they had a psychotic break, they had a psychotic episode, they were quite unwell, and if we realized it at the time, they would have been treated earlier and got the appropriate treatment and support, and they would have progressed with their education, with their life. But at the time, I didn't know, unless if somebody else knew. I didn't know, and at the time I was in my late teens, right? Which is sad, right? Because by that time you would expect that mental health should be taught, we should be aware of that, because a lot of conditions or illnesses start in the late teens. Psychosis, bipolar, those illnesses, depression, anxiety, they start at teenage years. And really bantsi, we have been affected by mental health. We have seen people who have mental health. We have relatives who have mental health issues. We know all these people that have all these illnesses, these conditions, these difficulties. But are we equipped to help them? Are we equipped to help ourselves? Are we equipped to recognize that this is actually an illness and it can be treated or managed? Are we? So I guess that was the question that we had, Lily Shumo. Hore ame a re bua ka this le Batswana, and can we do something for our part? Let's do something, because we are interested in this. We want Batswana gore ba itse gore mental health again, mental health illness again, difficulties again, go itlhokomela again. How do you reduce your risk? What are the risk factors? Stuff like that. Re tshwanetse gore re bue le Batswana ka this and equipped Batswana ka this information, which we believe that is important, especially in the times that we live right now. Banana barona, they're going through a lot. There's a lot of substance use, there's a lot of anxiety, there's a lot of other disorders, that people are going through. It's rough, and we really need to stand up and talk about these things. All right, so I thought, let me just do this and start this ball rolling. Hopefully re tlo go bua le Leshomo, or I'll talk with Leshomo at some point during the course of the day. This, we have to fix something. There's something going on with my side, most likely. And hopefully we can get it up and running and we can be live so you can ask questions and stuff like that. All right. Anyway, I thought I can start by doing a presentation. It's just a short one. It just gives you a bit of information of what we're talking about, okay? And it gives you a little bit about mental health or Botsogo Jwa Tlhaloganyo and stuff like that. Okay, so this is just a presentation that I would like to start off. Botsogo Jwa Tlhaloganyo, mental health awareness. So these are the sources of information that I use for this presentation. Because ke basically mo Australia, we do have to disclose where we research things. So a lot of that were from lectures and also research papers and other websites that you can actually have access to. Who website, Beyond Blue website. If you want, or how about I can put links to those so you can read more about what I was talking about. Okay. So ha re bua ka botsogo jwa tlhaloganyo, re bua ka ga eng? Ha re bua ka botsogo jwa tlhaloganyo, re bua ka, so I will try go ranola ha ke sena go tlhalosa ka sekgowa. So mental health it's a stage at which we are able to, to live our life, to cope with the stresses that it can with life, to be at a state where we're able to, to learn, to do our jobs, to work, to associate with others in a peaceful and constructive manner, as well as contributing to the communities that we live in. It's just about being well, emotionally, psychologically, as well as socially. Okay. So ha re bua ka botsogo ba tlhaloganyo, re ra seemo se e leng gore re kgona go re tshela more peacefully. I can't think of the word ka Setswana gore go raeng. Re dirisana le ba bangwe ka kagisano, re ra go ditirong tsa rona, re dira ditiro tsa botshelo, go sena bothata, o re sena bothata bo bokalo, re dirisana le ba masika a rona le ba bangwe sentle. I hope ke buile sentle ka Setswana. So ha re bua ka mental health, ga re lebelle hela gore motho o na le bolwetse, re lebella seemo se e leng gore motho o le mo gone. Okay. And then ha re tswella re bua ka botshelo, or ka re bua ka mental health conditions or difficulties, re leka gore re ka itse batho gore botshelo boa diragala, ga re tshele mo vacuuming. Rotlhe go iragala gore re fele re na le bothata o botsogo ba rona ba tlhaloganyo bo se mo seemong se se leng sone. What I mean by that, sometimes we find ourselves in situations or life experiences do take us through situations where we end up our mental state not being not well enough to to deal with difficulties, or to to address those difficulties. We find ourselves not being able to cope, not being able to to communicate, not having a clear mindset or ability to think clearly. The way we associate with others or interact with others might be affected as well. So there are some conditions where it can occur during those times, like anxiety. I as a child, I grew up quite an anxious child. I was really timid, and as I grew, like in my teenage years, even though I could mask it, there was a lot of social anxiety as well as, generalized anxiety. And in my family, depression also runs in the family. And also, grief, a lot of us, we go through grief differently, and some situations as well can cause us not to be in a mental state that is well, and we might find difficulties during those times. And ha re tla go bua ka the mental health conditions or illnesses, or disorders that are different. Re bua ka moody. Ha re bua ka moody, some people might feel really depressed, or some people might be manic. Ha o gakologelwa ne ka bua ka that guy o na a pace a tabogi, not sa taboga, but like he was walking really fast and talking to himself. He was going through something that we call mania. And a lot of people, you see them, there are signs and symptoms of mania that you see a lot of people go through, but sometimes because we're not educated, or we don't have that information, we are unable to recognize it, right? And some things like psychosis, where people ba dikakanyo tsa bone le go lebella dilo go se mo e leng gore re le bantsi re lebella ka gone o re akanya ka gone. Schizophrenia ke bolwetse bo e leng gore bo dingalo, especially ko gae, because re tsenya our spirituality, re tsenya our culture in diagnosing people, looking at each individual and saying, well, o na le bothata ba bonnanne le bonnanne. Schizophrenia is some condition that you really need to know the culture, you really need to know the community to diagnose it. So it can be challenging to diagnose psychosis, especially ko high. Mo mahateng the Western countries or developed countries, especially in Caucasian based, or majority of people in the community are Caucasian, it's easy to diagnose psychosis because the culture or their background, or what they believe and what is shared among that community, is different from back home. All right. So some of the conditions could be anxiety, eating disorder, personality disorders as well. I put the slide because I think it's important for mental health issues, or mental health is really complex. Someone might have a disorder but still able to function. Some people might not have an established disorder, but during that time where they are affected, they can't do much, especially with grief. We've seen people by now, when they grieve, it's just like they are so disabled. They have difficulty to do things. You just have to sometimes you actually have to, help them as you're helping somebody who has a physical disability. The pain, the suffering that they're going through is so much, right? And then somebody who has an established or a diagnosis of a mental health illness, they might still be functioning, I like to say this, a lot of health professionals have some disorders, and some are diagnosed, some are not diagnosed, but a lot of them, they do, because, they come from a place of trying to help others not to go through the same pain that they've gone through. All right. And like I think I've pointed out, go na le dilo tse dintsi tse e leng gore di affect our mental health. Some of the things that we look at are, the biological things, the psychological things, and the social things as well. We look at them from a perspective of whether they are protective factors or they are risk factors. Protective factors would be from an individual perspective. Am I able to cope with stress? Am I able to, problem solve? What are my genes like? What is in the family history? Is there family history of mental health illnesses? Is there family history of addictions? What is there? And also protective factors. Could we have having a well, our physical health is okay. We don't have any chronic illnesses. We don't have pain. We are well physically, as well as having that community that is supportive. I like this one because mo Australia, ha motho a tla ka bothata o a na le a mental health illness, we mobilize community around them. There's a lot of services that are available. So we mobilize that and give them this community of formal support to help them with their life. And go gae, re godile re godisiwa yaanong gore mangwana go your uncle, your aunt, memogolo, ba masika, they are there to help you grow. They can actually just, put you in line. Whenever they see you, they'll be questioning, what are you doing? And that's a child is raised by a community. And it's a shame for these days it's just about nuclear family. And even in that nuclear family, things have gone to an extent of ultra nuclear families. It's it's sad. And also just knowing who you are and how you identify yourself and taking pride of who you are is really important. Having a sense of belonging, having a sense of identity is important as well. And then the affected thing on motho are vulnerable to having mental health conditions or illnesses. They could be genetic, they could be substance use, there could be medical issues, the reverse of the protective factors, to put it simple, as well as trauma, neglect, bullying. Those are the things that can increase the risk. Poverty, unemployment, relationship issues as well, like domestic violence or gender-based violence, as we called it, go high. So why is it important that we talk about these things is that we need to be able to identify issues when they arise, so we catch them early, or we need to know things that we can do to protect ourselves from getting to that point we are vulnerable, right? So how can they reduce that risk before it becomes an addiction? How can they implement, if it has become an addiction, how can they implement harm minimization or reduce the harm to avoid and now establish issue? For example, alcohol. People would binge, teenagers will start binge drinking. Every weekend they go out, binge drink, get drunk, blackouts, things happen. And then over time, they become dependent, or if they have that risk factor, they become dependent on alcohol, they become addicted on alcohol. And over time, if it persists, there are physical complications or conditions that can happen with alcohol addiction. Liver cirrhosis, people have that, it starts first by fatty liver, then liver cirrhosis. People have, it can get to a point where your brain gets affected as well, like the weakness, cough, encephalopathies can happen with alcohol addiction. So you think about all these things, why it's important to be aware of mental health issues, and why it's important to be aware of treatment or prevention measures that can be implemented before things get worse, right? So there are things that we can do to help, depending on where the individual is at. So I thought maybe if we start this conversation, if we start this discussion, we'll get to a point where Botswana are equipped. Botswana are equipped to know what exactly is going on, and then be able to address issues as they arise. So thank you so much for tuning up, and if you got to this stage, that's really good. I do apologize ke na le bothata le go bua sometimes, so it's like a tongue, my tongue gets tied sometimes because of anxiety, as well as presenting. I'm like, oh my god, am I saying the right thing, blah, blah, blah. But anyway, as with time, I think things will get better, and with time we'll be able to do this live, myself and Mr. Lishumo. Any questions, please post. Any topics that you want to talk about, please post. It'll be great to know what people want to discuss and stuff like that, right? So anyway, thank you so much, and hopefully you enjoyed it, you learned something. If you want links to those websites, please do let me know, and we'll post it for you. All right. And be great, be amazing, and live the life that you were given.